456 desperate souls entered those games. Only one walked out alive. But here's what everyone gets wrong about Seong Gi-hun's victory. It wasn't luck. It wasn't intelligence. It wasn't even survival instinct. Think about it. Cho Sang-woo graduated from Seoul National University, one of the most brilliant minds in that hellscape. Kang Se-byuk survived North Korea and human trafficking. She knew how to endure. Oh, Il-nam. Well, we'll get to him. So why did the gambling addict with a failed marriage, mounting debts, and a history of letting everyone down? Why did he become the last man standing? The answer isn't what you think. And it reveals something profound about human nature that the creators of Squid Game embedded in every frame, every decision, every tragic death, because Gi-hun didn't survive despite his weaknesses. He survived because of them. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Gi-hun's victory was never about winning at all, and why that makes his story the most heartbreaking triumph in modern television. We're going deeper than anyone has gone before. Squid Game took the world by storm, becoming Netflix's most-watched series ever. But beneath its visceral violence and social commentary lies a character study so precise, so devastating, that most viewers miss its genius. Seong Gi-hun, player 456, seems like the least likely survivor. At 47, he's a chauffeur drowning in debt, estranged from his daughter, and addicted to gambling. When we first meet him, he's literally stealing money from his mother to bet on horses. Compare him to the competition. Sang-woo, his childhood friend, is a financial genius who embezzled millions. Se-byuk escaped one of the world's most oppressive regimes. Deok-soo built a criminal empire through pure brutality. Even Ali, though gentle, possessed incredible physical strength. The game seemed designed to eliminate people exactly like Gi-hun. Physical challenges for the weak, strategic puzzles for the simple-minded, moral tests for the compassionate. Yet somehow, this broken man outlasted them all. But here's where it gets interesting. When Gi-hun finally wins, he doesn't celebrate. He doesn't immediately claim his prize. For an entire year, he leaves the money untouched, living like a ghost haunted by what he's done. This isn't the behavior of someone who played to win. This is the response of someone who never wanted to be there at all. And that distinction, that's everything. Because while everyone else was playing Squid Game, Gi-hun was playing a completely different game. A game where the rules weren't about survival at any cost, but about maintaining your humanity when everything around you demands you abandon it. The mastermind behind these games, Oh Il-nam, wasn't just testing who could survive. He was testing something far more complex, far more human. And in Gi-hun, he found his answer. So, let's break this down. Let's examine every choice, every moment of weakness that was actually strength, every apparent failure that led to ultimate victory. Because understanding why Gi-hun survived isn't just about one character's journey, it's about what it means to be human, when humanity itself is the price of survival. Let's start with a contradiction. In the very first game, red light, green light, Gi-hun nearly gets eliminated in the first few seconds. While others immediately grasp the deadly stakes and freeze perfectly, he stumbles, panics, almost moves when he shouldn't. This moment tells us everything. Sang-woo instantly understands the game's true nature and positions himself strategically. Se-byuk assesses the situation with military precision. But Gi-hun, he's genuinely shocked that children's games have become death sentences. And then something extraordinary happens. While others are focused solely on their own survival, Gi-hun helps Oh Il-nam, the elderly player who's struggling to keep up, not because it's strategic, not because he expects anything in return, simply because abandoning an old man feels wrong. Everyone else is already playing the game within the game, figuring out angles, forming alliances based on utility, measuring every action against survival probability. But Gi-hun is still operating from his original moral framework, even in hell. This becomes crystal clear during the vote. When given the chance to leave after witnessing mass murder, Gi-hun votes to quit. Not because he's weak or scared, though he's both, but because he recognizes what everyone else is choosing to ignore, that no amount of money is worth becoming a monster. Listen to the arguments for staying. Sang-woo talks about debt and rational choice. Others discuss probability and risk assessment. But Gi-hun's argument is simple. People are dying, and that's wrong. Full stop. The genius here is that the creators show us Gi-hun making the wrong choice for the right reasons, while everyone else makes the right choice for increasingly twisted reasons. The second game, Dalgona, reveals another layer. While players are calculating which shape gives them the best odds, Gi-hun chooses the star, not through strategy, but because it reminds him of something innocent. He nearly fails. Again. But something interesting happens during this game. When he sees other players struggling, his instinct isn't to feel relief that his competition is weakening. He feels empathy. This empathy becomes his secret weapon, though he doesn't realize it. By helping others, by sharing information, by treating fellow players as human beings rather than obstacles, Gi-hun begins building something no one else has: genuine relationships. This pays off dramatically in Tug of War. While stronger, more strategic players struggle to form effective teams. Gi-hun finds himself surrounded by people who trust him. The old man specifically asks to be on his team. Ali, despite his strength, chooses loyalty to Gi-hun over more obviously beneficial alliances. But here's the crucial insight. Gi-hun doesn't see these relationships as strategic assets. When Il-nam shares the winning strategy, Gi-hun doesn't think about how this information gives his team an advantage. He thinks about how many people are about to die, and it breaks his heart. Watch his expressions during their victory. While others show relief or satisfaction, Gi-hun looks devastated. He's beginning to understand that every step forward requires him to step over bodies, and that realization is destroying him. The marble game represents the series' emotional peak, and it's where Gi-hun's true nature is tested most severely. Paired with Il-nam, the sweet old man he's protected throughout the games, Gi-hun faces an impossible choice. What makes this scene devastating isn't just that Gi-hun must effectively murder his friend to survive, it's that Il-nam's condition gives him an out. The old man's confusion about the game rules creates an opportunity for Gi-hun to win without technically cheating. And Gi-hun takes it. But watch his face. Watch his body language. This isn't the calculated move of a survivor. This is a man being forced to compromise everything he believes about himself, and it's killing him even as it keeps him alive. The aftermath is crucial. While Sang-woo coldly eliminates Ali through pure deception, and Se-byok faces her tragedy with stoic acceptance, Gi-hun collapses. He doesn't celebrate or strategize or prepare for the next challenge. He grieves. This grief is what separates Gi-hun from every other player. They've all learned to suppress their humanity to survive. But Gi-hun carries the weight of every compromise, every moral failure, every person he couldn't save. By the glass bridge game, we see how each remaining player has adapted. Sang-woo has become completely ruthless. Se-byok operates with cold efficiency. But Gi-hun is barely holding together. His terror isn't just about death, it's about what he's already become. When he helps push the glass expert to his death, we see the final crack in his moral foundation. He's now complicit in murder, not just a beneficiary of others' deaths. The dinner scene before the final game is masterfully written. Three survivors, each representing a different response to trauma. Sang-woo has embraced pragmatic evil. Sebyok has maintained dignity through detachment. And Gi-hun, Gi-hun is still trying to find a way for everyone to win. His suggestion that they all vote to quit together isn't naive optimism. It's a man desperately trying to salvage something good from an ocean of horror. When Sebyok dies, effectively murdered by Sang-woo, Gi-hun's last hope for a moral resolution dies with her. The final game, Squid Game itself, is perfect symbolism. Two childhood friends playing a children's game, with the innocence of that memory corrupted by everything they've done to reach this point. But notice what happens. Even here, at the final moment, Gi-hun tries to save Sang-woo. When he has the chance to end it, to claim victory, he stops. He offers to quit together, to walk away from everything. This isn't strategy. This isn't manipulation. This is a man who, despite everything, still believes that preserving a friendship, preserving his own humanity, is worth more than 45. 6 billion, 1. Sang-woo's suicide isn't just about guilt or shame. It's recognition that Gi-hun is still, impossibly, a good person, and that goodness has become unbearable to witness. In his final moments, Sang-woo acknowledges what Il-nam already knew, that Gi-hun won not because he was the strongest or smartest, but because he was the most human. When Gi-hun finally stands alone, he's not a winner. He's a survivor of moral catastrophe, carrying the weight of everyone who didn't make it. His victory is hollow because the cost was everything he valued about himself. Now, we reach the heart of what Squid Game truly represents, and why Gi-hun's survival carries such profound meaning. Il-nam's final revelation recontextualizes everything. The games weren't just about eliminating players, they were a philosophical experiment. Il-nam, dying and jaded by wealth, wanted to test a fundamental question about human nature. When pushed to absolute extremes, do we become monsters, or do we find ways to remain human? Every time Gi-hun chose compassion over strategy, every moment of weakness that seemed like a liability, he was actually proving Il-nam's hypothesis, that even in the most corrupting circumstances imaginable, some spark of humanity can survive. The VIPs represent the ultimate endpoint of moral corruption, people so disconnected from suffering that others' deaths become entertainment. They're what Sang-woo was becoming, what Gi-hun could have become if he'd fully embraced the game's logic. This is why Gi-hun's post-victory paralysis makes perfect sense. He didn't just win money, he proved that goodness can survive hell, but at a cost that makes the victory meaningless. The 45. 6 billion won isn't a prize. It's blood money for his soul. The children's games motif isn't just aesthetic choice. It represents the innocence we lose as we're forced to participate in systems that demand we harm others for survival. Capitalism, competition, social hierarchies, they're all adult versions of children's games, but with real casualties. When Gi-hun finally acts again, helping a homeless man while dressed in his expensive suit, we see the resolution of his character arc. He's learned that having money without humanity is worthless, but having humanity without using it to help others is equally empty. His final choice, to hunt down the people running the games rather than reunite with his daughter, completes his transformation. He's no longer the weak man who disappointed everyone. He's someone who understands that some fights matter more than personal happiness. Gi-hun's red hair isn't just a style choice. It's war paint. He's declared himself the enemy of a system that turns human beings into entertainment, that forces good people to become monsters for the amusement of those who've forgotten how to feel. The deeper truth is that we're all playing Squid Game every day. Every time we choose career advancement over ethical concerns, every time we ignore suffering because helping would be inconvenient, every time we treat other people as obstacles to our own success, we're participants in the same system, that created those games. Gi-hun survived because he refused to play by those rules, even when playing by them would have been easier, smarter, more profitable. And his survival gives us hope that we can make the same choice. So why did Gi-hun become the final survivor? Because he never stopped being human. In a game designed to strip away everything that makes us human, Gi-hun held on to compassion when it was stupid, mercy when it was dangerous, and love when it was fatal. Every weakness the world saw in him became the strength that carried him through hell. The genius of Squid Game isn't in its violence or its social commentary, powerful as those elements are. It's in showing us a man who discovered that winning isn't about being the last one standing. It's about being able to live with yourself after you've stood. Gi-hun's victory is both triumph and tragedy. Triumph because goodness survived, tragedy because it required so much sacrifice. He became the final survivor not despite his humanity, but because of it. And in the end, that's what makes his story so powerful. In a world that constantly tells us to abandon our principles for success, to treat others as stepping stones, to prioritize winning over being good, Gi-hun shows us another way. Sometimes, the greatest victory is simply refusing to become the monster the world wants you to be. What game are you playing? And what will you choose when the stakes get high?